All right, I'm here, I think. Can everybody see and hear me? I'm sorry, I still don't have this live streaming down just quite yet, but hopefully the audio and video is good. Oh, one more light. Hi everyone. So can everyone see me now? I hope. Someone chime in, let me know. Ah, okay, good, good. I'm happy. All right, so okay, yeah, hi, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me this early and on short notice. But I wanted to kind of get this out first thing, and I've never done one in the morning, so there's probably some of you guys, this is a better time for you anyway. But I'm gonna try and keep this one a little bit short relative to my like 2 hour, marathons, right? I went to the uh, EM5 Mark III launch event yesterday, and I'll show you a picture. Let's see. Yeah, so here's some of the pictures I took with the camera. He let me put my own SD card in and take some pictures. So I'm going to talk about those because someone asked specifically about that. Let's see, where's the... Yeah, here's one with me with the Olympus rep, Fred. What was really funny is as soon as I walked in, he's like, "Oh, hey, Rob." And I was like, "Whoa," like he recognized me. He's an Olympus rep down from Florida, and he said he's going to talk to the folks down there about maybe organizing some Olympus events for me. So we'll see how that pans out. I don't like to get too anxious or excited about that until it actually happens. But I said, it'd be fun as if you could organize some photo walks or something that we could all go out and I could share what I know about Olympus cameras and then try and get some pictures and stuff. But we'll see how that goes. And let me go back to my face here. Sorry. So that was kind of cool. And let's see. So it's a good time. Oh, Wu Dang. Oh my God, I forgot your name. I haven't heard from you in a long time, man. How you been? He's been following me since like almost day one when I started my channel about 3 years ago. And I know a lot of you are very long time subscribers or viewers, and I really appreciate that because I really enjoy, and I'm so glad that I'm able to connect this way at least through live stream because just recording videos and putting them out there, I don't know, I'm just very dry relatively speaking. Hopefully I'm a little more animated, in the live streams. But anyway, oh hey Walter, hey man, that was a good time yesterday. Thanks for making time to go out with you and Deb. I appreciate that. But what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about the the event, and then I also printed out all of the questions. I put a post in the community tab for YouTube, and people posted a bunch of questions they wanted me to ask while I was there, so I did that. So I'm going to go through these. There wasn't a lot, like a dozen questions or so. Um, Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my dog. She's going nuts. Uh, let's see. I can't think with her barking. Give me one second. Oh, okay. Sorry about that interruption. Um, Man, she's crazy. Let's see. How do I get this other thing up here? There it is. So I'll just show you some footage I got. I took my EM10 Mark II with the 17 millimeter with me, and I just recorded some B-roll. Uh, but let me first talk about my first impression and handling. Uh, oh, you guys didn't hear my dog? Oh, okay. Anyway, she was like blaring. I just couldn't think with her barking. So the main thing, I think one of the things I was concerned about was the plastic build and the just the build quality overall, because and because that was kind of a big deal to a lot of people, because if you had the M1 or EM5 Mark II or one of the older EM10 Mark IIs and stuff, Olympus tended to make a very solid metal build all the way around. And so this is a little bit of a change, especially since the last camera they announced was the M1X, right? And I can say that after holding the camera like this, um, I'm sorry. But after handling the camera, uh, the plastic, I think it was plastic all the way around, actually. I could not tell if it was metal or plastic on top, and the bottom was definitely plastic. And I just took my pen and I tried tapping on it like this, because the camera had been handled. I got there a couple hours late. It'd been handled, so many times, and the texture and everything was very convincing in terms of the overall build, and it felt very solid in the hand. And the plastic itself, the best way I can describe it is kind of like the screwdriver. This handle is all plastic, right? But it's very solid, because you can hammer on this and all kinds of things, and it stays solid, right? It doesn't get scuffed up too badly, and that's kind of like how the plastic felt on the EM5 Mark III. Was it was pretty solid, and I think someone mentioned to me in another. Oh, I got the title wrong on the Mark III. Sorry. Thanks, Walter. I'll fix that after I finish the live stream. But yeah, the tripod socket is metal. I don't know if I can freeze frame this one if I get to the bottom. And if you look at yeah, right there. Oops. Let me go back a little bit. I'll show you the bottom there. So that let me get back to my stream so I can see your guys' questions. So yeah, so the plastic was pretty solid. I mean, time will tell uh, how durable the camera is once it's really out in the field with real photographers, beating it up. But like I said, Olympus's reputation kind of precedes them in terms of build quality and things. So I'm sure it's very solid, and until they give me a reason to think otherwise, I'm sure it's very solid, and weather sealed, etc. Um, and oh, hey Robert, yeah, hey, it was good meeting you too. I did run into one viewer there at the live event, another Robert. That was really cool, and like I said, it was kind of cool getting recognized when I got in by the Olympus rep too. Uh, but I was so flustered when I was there. I don't know why. My brain was just scattered everywhere while I was there, and I was thinking, man, I got to test this. I got to ask all these questions, and and it wasn't terribly busy when I was there, but I didn't want to hog the camera. So every time someone was there, I would hand the camera back and then come, look at some camera bags and stuff and come back and look at it. So the continuity of my first impression was terrible. I just could not keep things straight for any length of time. I kept having to come in and out. So yeah, there's no ND filter. Um, I didn't ask that specifically, but I did see in another comment that it does not have an ND filter built in. which makes sense because it's essentially an EM1 Mark II with no differences really. Let's see. I need my glasses now. I can't. And let me just keep this other B-roll in the background going. All right. All right. So I got a question from Sam Thompson. Let me make sure I got this in the right order. Oh no, let's start this side. So Rifleman. And these are questions that I got from the community tab, and I'm starting to use that community tab a lot more. So check that out time to time. Okay, all he said is he's in Vancouver. Okay, Wahab Dilawar. Can the price tag be less than 900 US dollars so you can pre-order it? Yeah, the answer was no. Maybe in about 3 years when the Mark IV comes out, it'll be down to that. Rob Meta asks, is the new stabilization worth the expense if you already own the 5 Mark II? For photography, I'd say no. If you're just doing still photography, the IBIS it doesn't really matter. The 5 stops image stabilization on the previous model is good enough, really. The only exception to that would be because the Mark III has a 5.5 stop image stabilization, right? Is if you're using very long focal lengths all the time, like 300 millimeters, then the image stabilization, you got to think from 5 stops to 5.5, it's 50% better, right? Because every stop of light is 100% or double. So it's a pretty significant update, even though in terms of just the decimal point, it doesn't look like much, but it is pretty substantial. So if you're shooting at 300 millimeters or longer all the time, yeah, that extra half stop is a big deal. But generally speaking, I think for most, it's not a big deal. So Rod, Rod. Oh, that was your question. Yeah, I got it right here, Rod. So hopefully I answered that. All right. So Rod also asked me to bring home some free nibbles. You know, I was a little disappointed they didn't have food there, because the last launch event they had food and drinks and everything. So I went there with just a cup of coffee and a banana in my stomach, and I would say I'm gonna just binge when I get there, and I was so disappointed. But I did get a couple of freebies. It wasn't quite as elaborate as the first one either, but I got like some microfiber cloth. I got a little pin here. It's a little hard to see. Let me let's see if this will focus on this. Look at that autofocus. Oh, I'm like totally opposite again. I'm sorry my video is like reversed. But it's just a little pin you can put on. I'm going to put this on my bag, actually. I don't like to wear pins on my clothes. It's, it pokes a hole in it and stuff. And then the last thing I got was this. Yeah, that is a lot of acid, right? Yeah, they gave me this little name tag for your bags. I guess this is for traveling and stuff, which will make sense if I start traveling. But I don't like to travel much, especially outside the continental U.S. I'm just a xenophobe in that way. So what I'm gonna do is, in another video, I'm just gonna set up something and give these away. I'll just mail it to you, so you can just email me your address and I can mail it to you. Because I got a couple. Whoops, I got 2 extra pins. I've got a couple of these, and then I got 2 Olympus microfiber cloths. So nothing huge. I'm not giving away a camera, right? But I'll send those out to somebody. So just watch out for that in another video, and I'll figure out a way to give these out sort of randomly. All right, the next question was from Wei Zong, and let's see. if possible, please check the autofocus for legacy micro four third lenses. Hopefully it'll be the same as the EM1 Mark II. Yes, it should be exactly the same. I did ask him specifically about that. So I have this I took a picture of it. Where is it? There it is. They have the micro four thirds adapter. I'm sorry, it's a four thirds adapter to micro four thirds. And it has the electrical contacts on it underneath here. So there's full electrical contact for autofocus. And yeah, so it should be exactly the same. So Weizong, if you're watching this now or later, it does. Okay, PNW Rider. Some reviewers have said the battery life is not good. Can you find out on a full charge how many images it's good for? Well, the SEPA rating's 310 shots, and that's all he would quote me. But obviously your mileage vary. You know, from the various reviews that I saw online, people were getting like 1,000 shots, you know, and I assume that's because they were doing pro capture and stuff, right? You could run through 1,000 shots. I've gotten over 1,000 shots on my EM10 Mark II, which uses the same battery. But I would suspect just take something in between, on average, maybe 500 shots. But again, your mileage would vary on that. Jeffrey asks, I'm sorry, let me pull up my other thing here. Jeffrey asked, will Olympus offer unique EM5 III accessories like a fitted case, hand grip, new flash, senior citizen version? Yeah. Fitted case, he did not, he didn't know. Probably not. Hand grip, all they have now is the hand grip that has the shutter button on it, but no battery. So it's a shutter button, and I think it's an Arca Swiss plate on the bottom, so that will be available. And a new flash, well, they have the FL700, which came out like when the EM1X did, so there's not really a new flash, but it doesn't have actual, there's no radio built into the EM5 Mark III. So it's not going to be able to radio control the flash. You're going to have to use the RC mode, or use a radio trigger that you can buy separately to control things via radio, or an RC mode is via optical, right, trigger. So no new flash. So John, Jeffrey, Drew, that is the answer I got. So hopefully you'll see this video now or later. Let's see. Sam Thompson asks, be good to hear your views on how the polycarbonate body compares to the used metal body. It's okay. Like I said, it's the metal is the plastic. It felt like it was fully plastic. I just couldn't tell, but it felt a lot like the plastic on a screwdriver head, like this, the handle. It was very solid. There was no play at all in anywhere on the body. So hopefully, like I said, the build quality will hold up over time. And it makes a little bit of sense to me that they would have to make it all plastic, because metal and plastic, they expand and shrink at different rates at different temperatures. And to weather seal a camera like that and to mix metal and plastic together would make it just all the more challenging. Not that it's not done all the time, but maybe by making it all plastic, and I believe it is on the outside with just some kind of metal skeleton, then it should be even weather sealed even better, because all the plastics will expand and shrink at different temperatures, evenly. Not unlike the Pen F, which, I think this is metal, this is plastic, and then, they have all these rain buckets up here. If they tried to make this weather sealed, it'd probably double the price. Okay. Will Olympus have an update to the EM10 Mark III anytime soon? And again, he said no. Olympus doesn't announce anything before they officially announce anything. So he couldn't give me any rumor that it's starting or any indication. He just gave the standard answer. We'll announce it when we announce it. Let's see. Okay, Leon, I'll come back to you. And if I don't answer your question from the live stream, from like, all of the stuff here, I'll just ask me again. I'll try and get to it before I go, because I do have to leave around 10:30. Okay. Randy Bodener asks, please test the face and eye detect for stills. I don't care about video. I don't know why users are giving Olympus a pass on this feature. It's way behind Sony. Doesn't anyone shoot portraits anymore? All right, this was an excellent question, and the camera performed as I suspected. Now, I'm not a portrait shooter. It's extremely rare for me to do portraits, and when I do, it's just like for family and friends, and I'm not being very critical of the eye detect. So I never really looked at it. But I did test for it, and let me pull that up. One second. I'll shrink myself down here. And I need to get contacts or something. This is a pain using glasses all the time. Let me all right, so what I did was I took basically 10 shots. Or I didn't take them. I gave them to the rep and I said, just take 10 pictures of me and I'm going to try different poses. And I put the camera on face detect with eye detect in single point autofocus. And I used the kit lens, the 14-150 that it comes with. And then I said, it's hard to tell if the eye's in focus or not because the depth of field is a little bit too wide, right? So we've also put on the 45 millimeter f1.2 where the depth of field is like this much. So let's look at these images. Now, out of the 10 shots, I would say 2 of them were total miss. And let me see, I color coded them. Let's see. So 2 of them were total miss. It's these 2. And then 2 of them were, I would say, fair, like acceptable. And then the green ones, I would say, were either 100% it caught the eye or 90%, 90 to 100%. So, and it's very subjective for me to look at it because like I said, I'm not a portrait photographer. So I'm just going to do a quick comparison for you. And you can see for yourself. So let me go ahead into that mode. Oh, I'm there. All right. So just ignore, my ugly face and just look at the focus. Now this is with the, hopefully you can see this over here, but if not, this is with the 14-150 kit lens. And to me, this nailed it. It got the eyes in focus, and I'm at a 100% crop. But as with kit lenses and super zooms that are like 10x, right? You're not going to get the sharpest image no matter what. So after I took a couple of shots with this lens, I said, this is not really testing the eye autofocus because the depth of field is a little bit too wide anyway. So who knows? And the lens isn't tack sharp, right? So this next image here is with the 45 f1.2 and he shot at 1.2 ISO 200. And yeah, it definitely nailed it. My eyes are definitely in focus and nice and sharp. So no problem on this shot, but I'm facing straight ahead, right? So I took another shot where I was kind of at a slight angle. And you can see that it looks like it nailed it again. Now this is like a 90%er because it looks like my eyebrows a little bit more in focus than the eye itself. but I'm cropped in, 100%. So when you back off, yeah, it'll look tack sharp on any print or anything you would deliver digitally. But if you have to crop in, it looks like it's a little bit more focused right here on the bridge of my nose and my eyebrow, and my eye is just a little bit back. So I would say this is a 90%er. But you can see how shallow depth of field it is with this lens. From this eye to this eye is this eye is already out of focus. So I don't know, as a portrait photographer, you shoot like this, but I can't imagine you would, but maybe you do. So there it is. And then here's another one just straight on. So again, it seemed to nail it even better. So I would call this shot a 100% hit, because the eyelashes here on my eyes are tack sharp. I don't see any issues there at all. And then of course my eyebrows and everything are still in focus, and I think that's because I'm facing straight forward and my eyes bulge out a little bit. I've got like Garfield eyes. Someone told me once, and I said, man, that's pretty accurate. So I can see where my eyebrows would still be in focus, because the depth between my eyebrows and my eyes is not that much. And it's a pain wearing sunglasses. All right, now here's a goofy shot. This is about a 90%er. The shutter speed was at 1/160th of a second, because I feel like there's a tiny bit of motion blur here. But I would call this a 90% shot, because like I said, when you back off, I don't know anybody that would have a problem with this in terms of eye autofocus. But a lot of the reviewers online, they punch in right on the eye to show you. So it looks to me like it nailed it, but I can't be sure because I feel like there's a little motion blur. Okay, let's look at this one. This is another one. This is a 100%er, because the eyelashes all the way around here are tack sharp. And again, you can see how shallow the depth of field is on this lens, from my eye just to here. That little half-inch distance, the eye, is out of focus already. Definitely from here to here. So these were the 100% shots. Out of 10 shots, looks like 6 of them were just fine. And let's look at the ones that I said were fair. And there was only 2 of these. Now this was with the 14-150 kit lens. And I marked this as a yellow, as a fair image, because again, the depth of field was too wide to really say it nailed the focus or not, because everything's in focus from almost the back of my head to the front of my nose. So I said, okay, fair. I didn't want to call that a legit picture. And this is another one from the 14-150 kit lens, where I think it nailed it, the face with eye detect. But again, because of the depth of field, even the back of my head here is in focus. And then these are the 2 shots that I felt like out of 10 it missed. And definitely everything is out of focus. The only thing in focus here is maybe the very tip of my nose. It looks like it's almost in focus, but it's not. So it definitely missed focus there. And then on this shot, it's obvious that it focused right here on my temple, on this part of the eyelash, but it missed the eye. And then it missed this eye. So it missed both my eyes, right? And got me on the temple here. But when you back off, it looks fine. But again, as a portrait photographer, you need to gauge how critical the focus is. I would be personally fine with this, but I'm just doing friends and family. So there we have it. So that was that question. Hopefully I answered that sufficiently. And I'm sorry, I wasn't able to see the questions coming up as I was looking at those, but I'll come back to the live stream in a second. So PNW, oh no, who asked me that? Randy Bodner, yeah. So hopefully, Randy, you saw this, you're at the live stream, or you'll see this a little bit later. All right, Jerome said, can we hope for a battery grip for this camera? Yeah, he said no. So I'm a little disappointed in that. Not for me personally, but for a lot of videographers, because when you're doing videography work, you know, professional work in particular, you have to worry about the 29-minute time limit. And because there's no extra batteries, you have to worry about the battery too. So you're checking the camera twice for every job that you're doing, assuming you have to do longer jobs. Like I used to do lectures for video work, and I would tell the person, okay, interrupt the lecture and say, hold that thought while I restart the camera, right? And then, you know, they're very considerate. It didn't bother them at all. But as a professional, you know, I don't like to do that. And then if I have to go back and check if the battery's still good, that's a problem. So I think a grip with two batteries would be ideal, but maybe that's not what they want to market this camera for. They're leaving that for EM1 Mark II and EM1X owners. Chris Hansen asked, with the wonderful Pen F discontinued, I noticed a lot of design on the Pen F on the new 3. I don't see that personally. Maybe in the top plate a little bit, but why aren't they including the Pen F creative modes on this camera like monochrome 2? That's all that's holding me back from buying, and honestly, it's a software feature, so it seems like a reasonable request. Yeah, yeah. There's no like monochrome or color profiles like you have on the Pen F. So that's why I always say the Pen F really kind of stands alone as a camera and shouldn't really be compared to other cameras. But I can tell you that in my testing, monochrome profile 2 on the Olympus Pen F, all it's doing is doing a +6 on highlights, a -6 on shadows, and then it has a grain option, which is not available on any other camera. And as I've said, I think I've said this before, I turn the grain off a lot of times, and the image should be exactly the same on any Olympus camera if you do those two highlight shadow adjustments in terms of black and white. And the grain patterns that the Pen F adds will make a little bit of difference, because the theory is, you know, according to an interview that I read years ago, that the grain pattern changes as the exposure changes. So the shadow areas have a different grain pattern than the highlight areas to mimic the film look as much as possible. So that, I don't think that's ever coming back as long as the Pen F is out of the picture. Okay. So this one's about the ND filter. Will there be a Okay, so this was a good question. Will there be a software update for the EM5 Mark II? I didn't get a definitive yes or no. Nobody knows. It's up to Olympus. So why does the EM5 III only weigh 55 grams less than the EM5 II if the body is made of polycarbonate? I'd imagine because it's a thicker plastic. So if you take, say, a 1/4 inch of plastic versus an 1/8 of an inch metal, they're going to weigh the same overall. So, and it must be a very dense plastic, because, like I said, it's very much like it's very. Oh, sorry, you're looking at my mug there. It's very much like this handle on this screwdriver. It's pretty solid. Okay, and that was the end of the questions, I think, that I got in my live stream. So all that said, I did pre-order the camera, and there was no discounts available in the US anyway for body only. The discounts were available if you bought the 14-150 kit lens. They were giving $300 off, so it was $14.99 with the kit lens versus $17.99. All right, so let me go back and look at a few questions, if any. Yeah. Maybe it's focusing on the, yeah, that's funny. That's true. At what point does it jump to 5? I honestly, I don't know. The question is, at what point does the 14-150 jump to f5.6? You know, I set the lens to be wide open when I was there. So let me look at a 5.6 image. So it's 68 millimeters. It's at 5.6. And that's all I can tell you. 68 millimeters, it was at 5.6. I don't know if it turned to 5.6 before that, but right around there it seems, in terms of the kit lens. And Olympus needs to differentiate models in the lineup. No battery grip is part of the consideration, I would imagine. Yeah, the battery grip, that's a bummer. Oh, thanks, Jack. Yeah, he's congratulating me on the pre-order. I think the Mark III uses smaller, lighter batteries too. Marginally lighter. Yeah, the GX95, the Panasonics are a great line of cameras. They just don't appeal to me cosmetically. Okay, Leon asked the EM5 Mark III or the EM5 Mark II with the 12 to 40. Consider I got an EM10 Mark II. If you're upgrading, okay, let's talk about upgrades or where this camera sits if you already own an Olympus camera. If you already own an Olympus camera, if you have like an EM1 Mark II, or I'm sorry, if you have an EM10 Mark II or Mark I or any of the Mark I cameras, the M5 Mark III will be an awesome upgrade for you. And for photography still, specifically because of the lower light focusing ability. I haven't tested that myself, but if it's the same as the M1 Mark II, the low light focusing ability is greatly improved, especially since the new firmware came in. And then all of the other features you get with the M5 Mark III, I think it's definitely a good upgrade for any Mark I owners. EM10, EM5 Mark I, EM5 Mark II. Definitely a good upgrade. For EM1 Mark II owners, no, don't bother. If you have an EM1 Mark II, I don't see any point to upgrade to that. Let's see. Yeah, leather half case. I got a leather half case for my Pen F, but and it protects the camera great, but the grip itself wasn't quite enough for me. So if you need a grip, I would get an EM1 Mark II rather than buy an EM5 Mark III and buy a grip on top of that. The only exception would be is if you sometimes want to use a grip with heavier lenses. It's nice to have the option to be able to take the grip off when you just want to go smaller and lighter. So you have to think about your workflow if that makes sense to you. But if you're going to be using pro lenses all the time, just get the M1 Mark II. The Mark III is it doesn't make sense to buy EM5 Mark III and the grip and use the grip all the time, in my opinion. But if you're kind of a 50-50 or 80-20 guy where you don't use the heavier lenses all the time and you just want to go lighter, but it makes sense to buy an EM5 Mark III with a grip and then only sometimes use the grip when you need to. But primarily you're going to shoot it without the grip. Let's see. Oh, hey Robin, how you doing? The happiest man on earth. He's always smiling in his videos. Let's see. Oh, you're in Malaysia, Robin? I probably saw that but forgot. I forgot you're in Malaysia. I've been to Malaysia actually. Awesome food there. I love the food in Malaysia. Um, that was years and years ago. There'd be little guys in their bicycles riding around in the morning. What was really weird to me about eating in Malaysia and was you eat dinner, lunch, and breakfast. They're all the same. Like it doesn't matter. Like you could have, I don't know, an American version of this. Like you could have like steak and potatoes for breakfast and then have cereal for dinner. It didn't matter, right? Whatever you felt like eating, you just ate. There wasn't like this pre conception of what breakfast is and what lunch is and what dinner is. It just didn't matter. You just ate whatever you felt like whenever the time came. Uh, but yeah, Malaysia was fun. But I'm not a big fan of traveling in general. That I did that back before, like in '99 or '98. I forget when I went back in the '90s. Maybe it was, yeah, it was in the late '90s I went, and I haven't been on a plane since because I just hate traveling. How did the MK3 feel in your hands? It felt good. Like I said, yeah, if you're joining late, the plastic body is a very common question, and I always relate it to like the plastic on this screwdriver. It's pretty solid because you can hammer on this all day long and it holds its form, right? And that's kind of how the EM5 Mark III felt. It felt very, very solid. And I think someone told me, another reviewer saying it's his analogy was like a football helmet, right? They're made of plastic, but I think that's going a little too far. But something like this is kind of how it felt like when I gripped this screwdriver. Gripping the EM5 Mark III kind of felt like that. Um, let's see. Yeah, I miss the curries and things from Malaysia. I'm sorry, Robin's talking about how good the food is in Malaysia. It's awesome. Uh, the only thing I didn't like were the restrooms because they just have these two little rocks on the ground or stones or whatever blocks, and you got to squat down. That's very weird for people that are used to like a regular seat. And then toilet paper and napkins were optional. Well, at least napkins were. Like when you went to restaurants, it's like I go to the restaurants like can I get a napkin? It's like asking for a gold brick or something. My God, I don't know why napkins were so. Anyway, I'm not saying anything bad about that. It's just very different. Yeah, and Robin confirms ate 5 meals a day. Yeah, man. And like I said, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just whatever you feel like. Aesthetic design also appeals to me with the M5 than the GX95. People's reaction to the M10 is fun. Is that digital? Yeah. Then, excuse me. Uh, when they see how I can transfer a photo to my phone, mind blowing. Yeah. Um, Robo, the Godox T3. Yeah, it should. The Godox TT350 works on my EM1 Mark II, so it should have no problems on the EM5 Mark III. But like I said, I'm gonna get my camera in about a month. So some of the other guys here, like Peter Forsgaard, Robin Wong, and Red 35, I think they might still have the cameras in their hand. So you can throw a question at that because I asked Peter a question this morning or last night about the custom functions because it has three settings, right? C1, C2, C3, and I use those all the time, especially in my pro work. And the M5 Mark III only has one C setting on the mode dial. So you can only pick one custom setting at a time. Otherwise, you have to go into the menu. And there's no way to assign a custom menu to any of the other buttons or to anything else on the mode dial. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I hope in a firmware update that they'll at least let you assign those to a button or to like, the art filter on the mode dial. If you can set C2 to that and then C3 to the scene mode, that would be nice in terms of workflow for me professionally. Now, personally, the only time I really use the C1 and C2 is on my Pen F where I have different color profiles and things. I don't use it too much on my other cameras. Uh, Dave says, yeah, bring your TP for sure. Yeah, man. There was guys, I went to the mall and I had to use the bathroom. And this is like a regular modern mall in Malaysia, right? They had everything there. So I went to go use the bathroom and there's guys sitting out in the front on with a a table selling toilet paper, to I guess to us, foreigners, right? Because when you go in the bathroom, there's no toilet paper. uh, Robert's asking me if I'm going to make another live for the M10. Are you talking about the EM10 Mark III? That's never going to happen. I just don't have that camera, and I don't intend on buying it. Not that there's anything wrong with the camera. It's just, it's a little bit overkill for me. The EM5 Mark III, honestly, I pre-ordered it. And like I said in my previous live stream, I think, uh, that purchase was mainly for the three reasons, right? It had nothing to do about me upgrading my camera because I have an EM1 Mark II and I have the EM10 Mark II and my Pen F. I didn't need to upgrade. You know, I bought it mainly for uh, I have this channel, right? And it has the new menu system in it with the graphical thing on the cover in the beginning. So I want to be able to make new tutorials using this new menu interface because my content's getting a little dated, right? With the M10 Mark II, it's still valid for a lot of things, but I need to update my tutorials with the newer menu system. And then two, I just loved how the cameras look. You know, I just buy cameras sometimes because I like how they look. I have so many like film cameras like the OM1 and the OM2, the old film cameras I bought. I bought really just the shelf pieces. And some of them still work, so I went out shooting with them. Same thing with my Nikons, etc. And I was looking at the Mamiya C330. I almost got it, and even though it was functional, it wasn't cosmetically in good shape. No, I'm sorry, I'm going off on tangents here. And then the third reason I bought it was uh, I wanted a smaller, lighter camera to vlog with. The M10 is a very good size, so is the Pen F for vlogging. But the M10 Mark II is an awesome camera for street photography, but not so much for vlogging because it doesn't have the articulating screen. And so I bought it mainly for that. So those are the three reasons, and I would say equally those three. Uh, Yeah, Robin's confirming that the custom modes can't be programmed to buttons or dial. It'd be nice if they let us do that. My EM1 Mark II doesn't do that either, but it has three custom things on the dial itself, right? C1, C2, 3, right on the dial. So it's a lot more convenient. Uh, oh, Fervis talking about, yeah, I think those bidets and whatever, I don't know why we're going in that direction on. It's not doesn't seem appropriate. Okay, let's see. Use a microfiber cloth. Yeah, you could do that. Another thing you could do is just use your socks and then turn them inside out, uh, or throw the socks away. Anyway, do you consider to try out the Siru anamorphic lens coming at the end? No, not really. I mean, I love that Wudang's asked me about anamorphic lenses. I love that look from the anamorphic lenses. If I get more into video, I would definitely go in that direction. But right now, my video is pretty much straight out of camera stuff, just doing vlogs and things. But I don't know. I'll think about it. I tried doing that little trick where you can put like a piece of fishing string in front of the lens to get that lens flare. But it's not anamorphic. It just gives me a little lens flare. I'm an EM5 Mark II user for stills. I may buy a second EM5 too, so you don't need to swap lenses in the field. Uh, so Queenie's asking me about if you have an EM5 Mark II, should you upgrade to an EM5 Mark III? Because you're going to pay, let's say, double for the EM5 Mark III, right? Double the price. The only reason you'd upgrade to the EM5 Mark III over the Mark II, I think, is for the low light autofocus in terms of stills only. For video, it's definitely an upgrade. Okay, no question. But for still photography, I would say the low light autofocus is the key thing with that camera, and possibly the continuous autofocus and things like that. but for absolute still photography, that camera, and I'm basing that on the performance of my EM1 Mark II. The low light focusing ability is pretty amazing. That thing will lock on to things where it's almost pitch black to the naked eye. That thing will focus on things. I'll have to do a video demonstrating that one time because it is pretty amazing. Let's see. Yeah, Dave. The M5 Mark II, I do believe you can program the buttons, and that's because it's using the TruePic 7 processor. Maybe the TruePic 8 processor, they didn't code that in. I mean, it's something they could probably add, but because it's not asking the camera to do anything hard, right? uh, like, deep learning autofocus. It's just asking, can you add this menu item? Oh, yeah, Rob is going to wait a little bit before. Normally, like I said, if I was upgrading for the features of the camera, I would normally wait like 6 months or so myself, uh, because the prices it's not that the list price goes down, but you tend to see like a sale or something that is pretty significant enough, maybe 100, 200, $300 off, or better yet, the refurbs start coming into the Olympus website, and you can buy them at a pretty good discount. Like the EM1X right now, I think is $23.99 refurb. $700 off, and that camera, has it been a year yet? I'm not sure, but yeah, that camera's $700 off as a refurb, and then the used market, etc. But I like I said, I'm kind of obligated to buy it because I want to update the content on my channel. Let's see, low light autofocus and yeah, Dave just reiterating. Yeah, the extra 4 megapixels out of the sensor, I guess can be useful. I don't do photography enough where that makes a difference. I don't do the kind of photography where that would make a difference. Because I crop into down to like 2 megapixels sometimes. Um, and it doesn't matter to me. It's not enough that it makes a difference in prints or anything you would see online, 16 to 20. It's only when you start printing really large, you might get an extra, size more out of your prints. But okay, low light. Sam's asking, between the EM1 Mark II and the EM5 Mark III, which one's the better camera, or which one would I pick? It really depends on, really the only question is size and weight. That's really the only significant difference between the two. So if you want a smaller, lighter camera, EM5 Mark III. If you're using heavier lenses, any of the pro lenses, or especially like the 300 millimeter, you get the EM1 Mark II all day long because of the grip. That's the main difference. Is being able to handle the camera with larger lenses. If you can handle larger lenses on that little tiny body, then it doesn't matter just which camera do you like better, or which one can you get a better deal on, right? Because right now you can find the M1 Mark II in mint condition used for about the same price as an EM5 Mark III, right? When I was there though, someone asked the rep about birding, right? Birds in flight and taking pictures of birds, and he strongly recommended the M1 Mark II over the EM5 Mark III. And I'm not sure why. I should have asked him, why would you recommend when the autofocus is identical? But I think that's more along the lines of, because you're going to be using long, heavy lenses, you need a grip. Now, if you're using the camera sometimes with a grip, and sometimes you just want to carry a lighter camera, the M5 Mark III makes a better choice, because most of the time I want a small, light camera, and then occasionally I'll use a heavier lens, and I want to use a grip, like especially when I'm adapting lenses. Oh my God, this freaking 35 millimeter Zeiss is about 600 or 700 grams all by itself. I ain't using this on my Pen F with no grip, so that's why I bought a grip for my Pen F, because I went out with this lens without that grip, and my hands got tired. Let's see. Are you going to use the E-M5 Mark III for your real? No, I'm not. And I'm not going to use the E-M5 Mark III for my real estate business. I'm probably going to stick to my EM1 Mark II now because my EM10 is kind of on the fritz. So I'm switching to the EM5 Mark I, or I'm sorry, the EM1 Mark II. The reason I'm not going to use the EM5 Mark III for my real estate business is mainly because of the custom settings. When I'm doing real estate photography, I have to switch between ambient light and flash photography for every single room and picture that I take indoors, because I then blend those together. And being able to switch quickly from one mode to the next, just by turning a dial or pushing a button, is critical. So yeah, I'm not going to do that for my real estate, and that's only, not that I couldn't, because actually, if you, well, when I get the camera in my hands, I'll talk more about some workarounds, that custom 1, 2, and 3. There are some, I have some ideas about how I can work around that, but until I get the camera in my hand and practice a little, I don't really want to say. But it's along the lines of being able to toggle between custom modes and regular modes. Great stream. I know someone selling the EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark I for $400. Is it worth it to have the EM5 II right now? You want a second camera for backup? No, if you want a backup for photo and video, you're better off getting another EM5 Mark II or an EM10 Mark II. Because the video is much improved in the Mark IIs than it is over the EM1 Mark I. So definitely go with the go with a Mark II. And you know, if you want to spend the money, the Mark IIIs, the EM1 Mark II and the EM5 Mark III are awesome with video autofocus, whereas the EM10 Mark II is not so much. Same with the EM5 Mark II. The video autofocus is not great and continuous. If you're just manually focusing, it doesn't matter. Go with the EM5 Mark II or EM10 Mark II. Depends if you need an extra flippy screen or not. Yeah, the phase detect, the autofocus on the Mark III is it, and the EM1 Mark II. That's the kicker. If you need continuous autofocus, especially for video, that's a big deal. EM5 Mark III for backpackers. Yep. Do you know the price for the ECG5? Yeah. I think it was 179, I think. Sorry, I don't have a definitive answer, but I don't remember it being over 200. I forgot to write it down. I did ask, and I forgot to write it down. Did the rep have anything to say about the rumored 40? No, you know, I didn't ask about that. And even if I did, you get the standard answer, no comment, right? We'll announce things when we announce things, not before. Oh, thanks, Wudang. I'm so sorry I can't remember your name because we haven't email corresponded in months and months. But I appreciate that. I do my best. I try to do Micro Four Thirds the best I can. Birding needs longer focal length and heavier lenses. Yeah, true. Blue hour photography. I haven't done much of that. Time to time. Oh, okay. Someone chimed in on the ECG5. It's gonna be 169. Yeah. I mean, that's fair, I think, considering that it has the shutter button and dial on it. That's fair. You know, for an OEM. I mean, we all want lower prices, but we have to be realistic. That's fair, right? Oh, sorry, Sonny, you're late. You are so late because I have to leave in about 15 minutes I have a lunch date today. Uh, I on the ECG5, I believe it did have an Arca Swiss plate. He didn't have one there, I don't think. I'm an idiot. See, that's what I mean. When I got there, I was so flustered by all the things going on, and then all the questions I had to ask, and then he was throwing these things at me, and then I was like, I need some bling, you know. So I got these little 100-year pins, and so I had, you know, and I was excited about the cameras, so I had a lot of emotion. And then I had a lunch date as well, a brunch date. I don't know, what do you call between lunch and dinner, with Walter, who may be still on the live stream. I'm not sure. He's a local photographer and a really good friend of mine. Um, but yeah, I believe the Arca Swiss plate was on that grip, but we'll see. I may order it when I get the camera. So this is a good time for a lot of people. Well, there's only 60 people here now, but I didn't see how it's been going all this time. Uh, but yeah, this is a good time for me too, actually, because it's Sunday morning for me, and if I didn't spend all night partying, I can get up and do a live stream. So maybe I'll do like a Sunday morning and a Thursday afternoon at 3:45. So I plan on doing live streams Thursdays at 3:45. Just because Tony and Chelsea have one at 4 o'clock. So if they're talking about something you don't care about, you can start with mine first and then jump over to theirs if mine is dead, you know, or boring. The the Arthur's asking about the $100 intro price. I'm hearing that in like different countries, but not in the U.S. The U.S. is not doing $100 deal, but they are in different countries. So uh, the best way to check, I guess, is go to the Olympus website, and they didn't really say specifically there either if they were doing the $100 discount. So you'll have to wait until it's actually a launch event is in your area, if there is one, or uh, God, I don't know where to check for that, to be honest. I'm sorry, Arthur. I don't have a good answer. I'll check. Let me make a note. I'll check for that for you, though, how to find out if there's a discount or not. Discount other countries. EM5-3. Okay, I'll check, Arthur. I don't know offhand. Why do we always have to guess why camera companies do certain things certain ways? Why does anyone contact someone from the industry and ask questions? You know, supposedly the manufacturers work with professionals in the development of the camera, like their Olympus visionaries potentially, during the product development. But I think there's a conflict between, and I don't think Fuji actually has this problem as much as other companies, and I'll explain that. And this is all just speculation on my part. I don't have any inside information. But when they're working with professionals and stuff, they get all the feedback in, and they could build the perfect camera, say, uh, that will have everything or more than enough for most. So everything every pro would want, and more than most people would want or need. But then the accounting department comes in, the penny pinchers, and they say, you need to take this out. This costs too much to add this. And a good example of that, I think, is the USB port on the cameras, because the M5 Mark III has a USB 2, and the EM1 Mark II has a USB 3. So in terms of hardware, the TruePic 8 is able to handle USB 3. But so why did they put the USB 2.0? My speculation is that it costs less, mainly because you have to pay licensing fees for USB. whether it's 1 penny or 2 pennies, right? 1 cent or 2 cents more to add USB 3, uh, it costs more. Not just in the not and maybe it costs a little more in the parts, actual raw material. But any of those things could have an accounting department come in and chop that off and say no, put USB 2.0. All you're doing is charging the camera. USB 2.0 does that for 5 cents less than USB 3.0, and by extension, every feature on the camera is probably looked at that way by the accounting department, because corporations run by the quarter. Every quarter they have to meet certain profitability, expectations of their stockholders, and the accounting department is responsible for cutting corners. It's not the engineers, because let me tell you, an engineer would, and camera photographer, because a lot of the engineers, they're photographers themselves, right? They would make the perfect camera if they wanted to. And the reason I say Fuji doesn't seem to have this problem as much is because when I look at their line, and it seems like Olympus is starting to do that, is you can buy an XT3, an XT30, an X Pro 2, X Pro, or when the X Pro 3 comes out, and you're getting the same image sensor and same quality out of all of those cameras, and 90% of the features across the board, regardless of which camera. The only difference being is what body style do you want. And I think every manufacturer should go that direction where, I prefer a rangefinder, or I prefer a smaller, lighter body, or I prefer a larger body with a grip and options for, dual grips. But I don't want to sacrifice image quality. I'd like to carry my EM1X, but then have my EM5 Mark III as backup in my bag, because it's only this big. So hopefully, it's just my opinion and speculation. Yep, I agree with you, Mr. Digger, on that statement that it's a great update from the Mark II. Compare it directly with the 17 2.8. I'm not sure what that might be, from another conversation. Yeah, the 14 to 150 is a fine lens as an all-in-one, but I'm more of I just prefer shooting primes because of the faster aperture. I can shoot in lower light, and me, I like to go out at night and shoot a lot. And a 14 to 150, or most zooms, you're not going to get f1.8. Yeah, the M10 Mark II, the autofocus is a little rough sometimes without the phase detect. When we compare, Wu Dang saying, when we compare the old film industry, then the MFT compares very much to 8mm small film. Yep, true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's saying there's huge potential for micro four thirds in film cameras. That's true. Just look at Panasonic. They do a great job with their video, like the GH5. Yeah, the Pentax Q series. Is that the? There's a couple of different Pentaxes I want to add to my collection. I forget the exact model numbers because I haven't looked at them in a while. But there's one that's that was, I believe it's APS-C. I'll talk about that if I ever buy those cameras. Right now I can't think about them. But I do have some Pentax cameras on my list of things to get eventually to my collection. Pentax is awesome. Everything I see and read about them, they're really awesome little cameras, and they got a great lens lineup. It's too bad they're not as popular, even less popular than Olympus, I think. But I don't know. Uh, I know you have to leave, but what do you think about the JPEG quality between Fuji and Olympus? It's just a matter of taste, really. Fuji seems to have more red tones or orange tones in them. and I really want to try their film simulation. So, like I said, there's a Fujifilm camera in my future. I just don't know which one. I'm really torn between just getting a Fujifilm X70, which is a little compact camera, or going full on X Pro 3 when it comes out. But if I get like a interchangeable lens Fuji, then I'm going to start buying lenses, and I've already maxed out my credit cards enough. I just I don't know. I'm sorry, but yeah, the JPEGs are fine either way. It's just taste, personal taste. People have said that the Olympus JPEGs look a little over sharpened, but you can adjust that in the camera. But Olympus has very accurate colors in their JPEGs. Whenever I look at the JPEG colors from other cameras, the times that I've had that opportunity, I felt like the Olympus colors are very, very accurate. So I'll give you that. I'll give Olympus that in their natural color profile. What do I want to see from Olympus in the future? Oh man, I'd like to see more video features. Honestly, photography wise, I think they've nailed it. Uh, for stills, I don't have any wants on the still side. I still have a lot of wants on the video side. Um, I'd like to see them, and not for me personally so much as it is more of a general marketing thing. I'd like to see them actually have 422 10-bit output on their cameras. And like I said, we're gonna have to wait for a TruePic 9 processor. So whatever camera comes out with their new processor, I guarantee it's gonna have 422 10-bit output. Just right now, there's too many better options for video in the market than Olympus. Uh, for if you're more serious about video. If you're just shooting video generally like I do, and my little bitty channel and vlogging, the output from Olympus video is twice as good as most people would need. So there's a lot of wiggle room with the video in Olympus. But yeah, in the future, I that's a tough question, because I'm very happy with what they do now. But I would like to see. Okay, actually, I do have a good answer. I would like to see a Pen F2 with everything the E-M5 Mark III has, but keep and add on the creative dial. Right now, you can control saturation for individual colors. I'd like to see them add luminance and hue to the individual colors so that I can do everything in camera and not have to do post-processing. I hate post-processing. So that is what I want, and that's very personal to me, right? Uh, so that's what I want from them personally. From a larger audience standpoint, I think better video specs long term would be nice. Okay, I got about 5 minutes and I have to go. What would you like to see? Pentax Q. Yeah, Pentax Q, that's the one, but there's another one that was kind of a goofy looking camera that I want to get. It has a very large flange distance because I think they adapted the sensor and tech from one of their DSLRs that were mirrored. So it's kind of a bulky looking camera, but it that's what I think is kind of endearing about it. A 15 millimeter prime is still too narrow. A 12 millimeter weather sealed prime at f2 is would be nice. They have the 12 millimeter regular f2 which is what I use now for vlogging, uh, and that's just barely wide enough. A 9 millimeter f2 would be perfect for vlogging if it's rectilinear, not that fisheye stuff. Sonny, I would get the EM1 Mark II. He's asking if you have an EM10 Mark II, what would you upgrade to? If you're going to be using heavier lenses, the EM1 Mark II. If you want to keep the same small, lightweight body, and that's how you shoot most of the time, EM5 Mark III. But then if you start getting into larger lenses, just buy the grip for the EM5 Mark III. I think that's the best option. Yeah, Fuji's lenses, Arthur's saying the Fuji lenses are bigger in general. That's true because of the bigger sensor. And that's one of the reasons I'm hesitant. I know the glass is great and everything, but uh, if I start buying the glass is expensive, and then and expensive in the sense that I already own everything I need. I don't need to buy another lens at a certain focal length. Uh, yeah, Robin, is the Pentax KO1. That is definitely going to be on my shelf one day. Uh, thanks. Yeah, jogging my memory there. Yeah, the KO1 and the Pentax Q. Those are two Pentaxes I definitely want to get. And then maybe a K7 for the Astro feature I want to try, but it's kind of getting expensive when you start thinking about, well, this camera has this one thing, right, that I want. Do I really want to spend, 800 bucks just to do something once? But the Pentax KO1 and the Pentax Q, I think combined I can get for about 500 bucks. Uh, and not that that's a small amount, but uh, I'm, it's definitely there. I'm gonna get a Fuji before I get those Pentaxes, but those Pentaxes will come soon enough. Yeah, the yellow KO1, that's what I want. It's probably cost more than the other colors, but yeah, the 9mm body cap, I do vlog with that. I did vlog with that for a while when the light is good, but when the light drops, it's there's I can't shoot at f8 as anytime it gets near sunset. God, I'm dropping things. I'm sorry if I startled anyone, but I dropped my I dropped my camera. My 9mm busted. Fortunately, the you still can't tell that it's not. Another piece dropped. I still use it time to time, even like this, even though I can't adjust the focus on it, because everything's pretty much in focus anyway. But yeah, the 9mm body cap and good light is great, and just some minor fisheye correction, you're good. If you do any at all, you almost don't even need to do any. What do I want to see on an EM1 Mark III? For me personally, I'd like to see really strong video specs, maybe scopes. Like I want to see everything the GH5 has, video wise. In terms of photography, like I said, I think Olympus has nailed it. I can't think of anything I'd want more out of an Olympus camera. I'd like to have a Pen F2 with more features, like I said earlier, but I wouldn't want those in a EM1 Mark III. I wouldn't use them because when I go out shooting where I'm trying to be creative, I don't want a kind of a bulky camera. I want a small, compact camera. And if the Pen F2, man, if it has the same kind of flip screen as the X Pro 3 that's coming out, where you can just flip it down time to time, but when it's up, it has that other display with the settings. That would be awesome. And that's the only thing that I'm excited about the X Pro 3 is I love that flip screen, the way they're thinking on that. Uh, get an XE2. That's the thing is I don't want to buy a camera that I'm just never going to use. If I'm going to get an interchangeable Fuji, I'm leaning towards the X Pro 3. If I'm going to get a Fuji, uh, it's either the X70 where I don't have to buy any more lenses because the lens is fixed, but I still get access to the art filters or film simulations. That may be, I'm really leaning towards that, but long term, an X Pro 3 with one lens, because that's probably all I can afford is an X Pro 3 and one lens. The problem may have solved itself, but I love that. And then what I'm afraid is, though, I'll never take my Pen F out again. I don't know. I'll have to see what happens. Who knows what the future holds for me with that X Pro 3. Okay, bye, Rod. I have to get going too. Oh my God, you're watching me from a giant TV. The X100F. I know. But that's like $1,000. I think I'm leaning towards a Fuji X70, a used one for about 500. Uh, the X100F just doesn't appeal to me because it doesn't have the flip screen. I'd like the screen to be able to tilt. Um, no, they'll never be as good. The question is, will full frame low light performance ever be available for MFT? If you're talking about like ISO noise, grain and things like that, I don't see how that's going to ever be possible because the two things are parallel, right? The Micro Four Thirds sensor is just a cut up version of a full frame sensor, so full frame is always going to be better, um, assuming it's the same piece of silicon. Now there may be a small window where Micro Four Thirds will come out with something that's awesome, but within the year there'll be a full frame version of it, right? So it just can't compete in low light. That's I just don't see that ever changing. The only exception would be, and I seriously doubt it because nobody has the resources to do it, is to develop their own sensor and manufacture their own sensor, put a patent on, and never give it to anybody. Sony gives their stuff away all the time, but anyway, dual ISO options. That's an interesting tech that I need to look into. I read about it once, dual ISO, and it's something about how the circuit switch on the sensor. Uh, that may be a good option. I know like the GH5S does that. I know. I gotta go. All right, guys. I really need to get out of here. I'm sorry if you guys joined late, but it's only a 1 hour live stream this time, so you guys can. Oh crap! It's an hour and a half live stream. I might have to edit this and put a highlights video. But thanks everyone for joining. 12 to 40 Pro at 12 to 40 Pro for convenience. 2 or 3 primes at a slightly faster aperture is not going to make much difference. Get a 12 to 40 Pro. That's what I do actually when I do my family things. I put my 12 to 40 Pro on because I can zoom in and out when I need to. Because you're always moving around. Okay, Sam. Thanks. Okay, I'm gonna try and end this. You guys have a good Sunday. I gotta go eat. I'm so hungry.